I'm here at the Capital One Arena downtown. You know how I know tariffs work? Because Jim Cramer said they don't. Well, Jim Cramer's all freaking out about tariffs, so obviously they're a good thing. Obviously, they're not only that, but we got jobs, we got all kinds of great stuff going. Yeah, the stock market is down. I get it. Your 401k's down. But I have a solution for that too. There's really nothing to worry about. In fact, everything's going according to plan. And I'm going to outline it for you here in just a minute. The tariffs are working, and they're working brilliantly, and I'm so excited for the new golden age. I could spit. Hawk-Tua. Although I probably shouldn't. I don't want to talk Hawk-Tua because, talk about a fall from grace. Remember when we used to hear about Hawk-Tua girl all the time, and now we don't hear about her ever? Remember when everywhere we turned, it was Hawk-Tua girl. I went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina last summer, which it's not odd. I go there every summer. But I went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina last summer. And when I walked into the beach shop, you know, the beach shop that always shares, they always sell the t-shirts. There's always the Myrtle Beach t-shirts, and there's always a bunch of Trump stuff there. All kinds of stuff like that. All it said, it was all just Hawk-Tua stuff. And it was like Hawk-Tua for president and Hawk-Tua 2024 and all this other crazy stuff. Now, she's ever since that whole meme coin scandal, she's all gone. But I'm not here to talk about meme coins and scandals and things like that. What I'm here to talk about is President Donald Trump making America great again. President Donald Trump doing exactly what he said he was going to do, and that is imposing tariffs on the entire gosh darn world and making sure that the United States became rich and wealthy and that we were no longer taken advantage of. And all of that's happening. And we'll get into all that here in just a minute. But first, I would love for you to subscribe. In fact, we got a multi-tier process going here. The first thing you need to do if you haven't yet subscribed is please subscribe. Also, if you would like to share this, whatever platform you're on, the best way for us to grow the audience is by I guess I would call it endorsement. And so if you are watching this show and you like this show, then odds are you have people that follow you on Facebook, for example, that are similar. That they have similar thoughts and moral values, and maybe their politics is just like yours, and they would really appreciate finding this show and this podcast and maybe learning a thing or two, and they would appreciate you if you shared it with them. So go ahead and hit share, hit the notifications, make sure that notification bell, boom. Make sure that notification bell is hit, because anytime we go live, that's the best way for a lot of people, well, to get notified is with notifications. Duh, Mark Kaye. Of course, the best way to get notified is with notifications. And then, of course, the other thing, of course, you want to do is you want to make sure that if you're listening to the podcast, that the podcast is a program you're listening to, whether it's Apple or what's the other one? Spotify. That's a real popular one. Make sure that they know that you are getting that you want this podcast every single day. All right, so the tariffs, man, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of stuff going on. Donald Trump yesterday was asked about the tariffs, and Donald Trump said, look, this is exactly what we need to do. I know that the economy has taken a hit. I know that the stocks have plummeted. I know that the Dow Jones is down 1,000 points. Donald Trump knew all of this was going to happen, and there's a reason all of it happens. But Donald Trump said, look, this was an operation, a precise operation that we needed in order to heal our ailing country.
I think it's going very well. It was an operation, like when a patient gets operated on, and it's a big thing. I said this would exactly be the way it is. We have $6 or $7 trillion coming into our country, and we've never seen anything like it. The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom, and the rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make a deal? They've taken advantage of us for many, many years. For many years, we've been at the wrong side of the ball, and I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be unbelievable. The thing that people have to talk about, we're up almost to $7 trillion of investment coming into our country, and you'll see how it's going to turn out. Our country's going to boom.
Our country is gonna boom. It's gonna boom, just like Joe Biden's diapers. It's going to explode all over the place. And that's the thing that people don't realize. A lot of people thought this was, Donald Trump's not a day trader. Tariffs are not a day trading investment. You don't buy in the morning and sell in the evening and count your losses, or, look at your wins. This is the long goal. This is the long game. Donald Trump said, we've been doing this wrong for a very long time, and now I'm righting the ship. Now I'm making sure that moving forward in the future, the United States of America is set up for long-term success. And this reciprocal tariffs, by the way, are not a new idea. Reciprocal tariffs are not a new idea, and they're not an idea that that a lot of people haven't had in the past. That's just no one's ever implemented them. And Howard Lutnick, who is President Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, one of his best buds, a very successful businessman, and somebody who's been pushing for these reciprocal tariffs for a very long time, was on with Jesse Waters yesterday.
Commerce, Howard Lutnick. All right, Secretary, I mean, you've known Trump for a very long time. Have you seen this movie before?
Well, this is his movie that he's been talking about for 35 years. He said we've been ripped off. You can go find video of him from 1988 on Oprah talking about how we're being ripped off.
Oh, you know what? That's a good idea. You know what? Let's go back, actually. Donald Trump on Oprah Winfrey in the 80s talking about basically this clip from Donald Trump on Oprah Winfrey talking about tariffs and how the United States has been ripped off could have been done yesterday, except Oprah doesn't have a show anymore, and Donald Trump looks really young. But the verbiage is the same. The words he's using are the same. He's saying the exact same thing he said 30 years ago because he still believes it, unlike other politicians who flip-flop.
What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not, but I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really...
Yeah, because you'd be the best president that we've ever had in most people's lifetimes. But that was Donald Trump back then saying the exact same thing that he's saying right now. And he doesn't change his tune. In 35 years, as Howard Lutnick pointed out, Donald Trump has not changed. He's saying the same exact thing today and yesterday, and he'll say it again tomorrow, that he's been saying since the 80s, since he was on the Oprah Winfrey Show. You know who does change their tune? Democrats. For example, Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders used to talk tough about tariffs and how tariffs were an important economic stance for the United States of America.
Further, what they have said is that we need to not worry about manufacturing in America, because what we should establish is a policy of unfettered free trade. We don't need tariffs. What we need is to allow corporate America the freedom to throw American workers out on the street, people who are making 15, 20, 25 bucks an hour, health care, pensions, throw them out on the street, because somehow, Madam President, we are going to create wealth in America and good paying jobs in America as we shut down plants. We move to China, corporations there pay workers 20, 30 cents an hour, and we bring the product back into this country. And anyone who goes shopping in a mall knows how difficult it is today to find the product made in America. But that is the philosophy. And I have to say, in that regard, the champion, and he is honest on this one. Senator McCain has been criticized recently for not being the most honest candidate we have seen in terms of his ads and so forth. He has been honest on this one. He is the lead advocate of unfettered free trade. And that's an also important part of this right-wing ideology, that it is good for America that corporations can go to China and bring products back into this country.
Yeah, and then there was also, what's her name? Nancy Pelosi, who was so fed up with China that she was an advocate for tariffs.
How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit and loss of jobs for the American worker? And how much more dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo? As I mentioned, it's about jobs, proliferation, and human rights. And there are those who say we shouldn't link human rights and trade and proliferation and trade. I disagree. But if we just want to take up this issue on the basis of economics alone, indeed, China should not receive most favored nation status for several reasons that I'd like to go into now.
And then she goes into all of those reasons. Also, Barack Obama was all about reciprocal tariffs.
When it comes to the international system of commerce and trade, it's legitimate for poor countries to continue to seek access to wealthier markets. And by the way, wealthier markets, that's not the big problem that you're having. A small African country is sending you tea and flowers. That's not your biggest economic challenge. It's also proper for advanced economies like the United States to insist on reciprocity.
Oh.
Nations like China that are no longer solely poor countries, to make sure that they're providing access to their markets and that they stop taking intellectual property and hacking our servers.
So he actually used the term reciprocity, which is what Donald Trump has been calling these tariffs all along. So which brings us back to where we are right now. And Howard Lutnick's like, look, you can go back, you can see the video of him on Oprah Winfrey, you can see how he's always been talking like this, and now he's finally installing it, and it's because he wants to save America and American jobs.
Commerce, Howard
on Oprah talking about how we're being ripped off. He finally gets to stand up for American workers, stand up for America, bring the factories back home, and get rid of this national emergency called our trade deficit, which is outrageous.
Now, we're not going to have all factories come back. Like clothing manufacturing, that's tough to bring back. But what kind of manufacturing are you talking about returning here?
Well, you can't just give that away. See, what's going to happen is robotics are going to replace the cheap labor that we've seen all across the world. I mean, think of what our factories did. They went to the cheapest labor in the whole world, slave labor, cheap labor, the worst environmental conditions, polluting the heck out of it. And then we bring back those cheap products here and we feel good about ourselves because we don't see the pain. But the pain is in our workers. The American workers have been given the raw deal. And what's going to happen now is we're going to build factories and we're going to train and we're going to have trade craft. We're going to do the greatest set of training ever. And our high school educated people, they're going to train to do robotics mechanics. It's kind of like a supercharged BMW mechanic, you know, like you just can fix those robots. You can build air conditioning as an example, but that's for a fab or for a semiconductor factory. These are great paying jobs that are Americans. We're going to have 5 million of those jobs coming. And America is going to retool. It's going to do manufacturing, and robotics can sew as well. You've never seen anything like what you're going to see, the renaissance of American manufacturing.
Okay, so here's basically what's happening. Jesse Waters goes, look, I get it. We're going to make cars here. We're going to make computer chips here, but we're not going to make Nikes here, right? We're not going to have sweatshops here in the United States of America, right? We can't compete with the Chinese sweatshops. We can't have tracksuits and blazers and prom dresses and all those other things made here. And Howard Lutnick goes, no. You're missing. No, this is a trickle down manufacturing principle. What happens is we bring back all of the major robotics industries and computer chip industries. We build these manufacturing plants that create AI, that create these robotic workforces, and then We don't even need the sweatshops anymore because nobody's going to be cheaper than a robot. The robot will be the least expensive, even less expensive than the sweatshops in China. The robotic seamstresses will be sewing the Nikes, and they'll be sewing the sweatsuits, and they'll be sewing the prom dresses and the blazers and the Lululemon apparel and whatever, your Coach bags. We are going to train American workers to build robots, and the robots can do anything. And then we can bring back all manufacturing. We can have our highly trained robotics do whatever it is they're doing in China. And that is going to be crippling to the Chinese economy, and it's going to bolster the American economy. And all the highly skilled American workers and all the highly skilled humans will work on the robots, and they'll build the air conditioners for the microchip factories. Which, by the way, he's right. The amount of filtration. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these factories, but I watched an entire documentary on it once. I don't know why, but I did. And the amount of filtration you need to make these computer chips, the air has to be impeccably clean. And there's all kinds of, it is a massive system of filtration and air conditioning and all that kind of stuff just to make sure that these factories run properly and that these chips are not tainted in the design and production process. So he's right about that. If we do these things, if we create these opportunities for the United States of America, then we'll be able to automate anything. And you can probably get a pair of sneakers cheaper in the United States than you ever would from China or Vietnam or any place else like that. You know who else, by the way, is a big fan of tariffs? Not just Nancy Pelosi, not just Barack Obama, not just Bernie Sanders, not just Donald Trump from 1984, but shrimpers apparently in Mississippi.
The shrimpers here like tariffs because they say they will save their jobs and save their entire industry. We have to remember that more than 90% of shrimp consumed in the United States is imported from overseas, and the American shrimpers say they just can't compete. Let's bring in Leanne Bosarge, who is the 5th generation of her family to be involved in the commercial fishing industry. Leanne, what would happen to American shrimping without tariffs?
Well, the U.S. domestic shrimp industry has been on a downward trajectory for decades now as a direct result of the unfair trade in the overseas aquaculture industry for growing shrimp overseas. And these tariffs threw us the lifeline that we needed to hopefully live to fight another day in our industry in this country.
Anyone else think of Forrest Gump whenever they see them standing on that boat? After that, shrimping was easy. That's my boat. I call her Jenny. There's only one name. Sorry. I was always a big Forrest. I was always a big Forrest Gump. The Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. You want to see what Lieutenant Dan looks like? What was it? Where was I don't even remember. Oh yeah, shrimpers. Shrimpers like tariffs. John Kennedy kind of likes tariffs. I listened to this clip a couple times. Either John Kennedy from Louisiana likes tariffs or he likes whiskey or both.
We're in uncharted waters. Tariffs are more art, in my opinion, than science. Tariffs are like whiskey. A little whiskey under the right circumstances can be refreshing. Too much whiskey under the wrong circumstances, and you end up drunk as a goat. We just don't know right now, but we'll know within the next 6 months. If it works, let's take a dozen. If it doesn't work, the president's going to have to recalibrate.
Drunk as a goat is, I think, where he lost me. Drunk as a goat. Again, I don't come from Louisiana. In Louisiana, things may be different. Drunk as a goat is where he lost me. But there you can see he's kind of a fan, but not really. He's a fan a little bit, but he also doesn't want to lose his shirt because this is a guy who has a lot of money in the stock market for sure. By the way, if you're worried about your stock portfolio or if you're worried about any of your investments, then all you have to do is track Representative John Rutherford from Florida's 5th District. Just track his stock trades. You can do it on Quiver Quantitative or one of those other websites. All you have to do is trade the way John Rutherford trades. When Representative John Rutherford from Florida's 5th District sells stock, sell that stock. And when he buys a bunch of stock, buy a bunch of that stock. Because nobody is a more, prescient stock trader. Maybe Nancy Pelosi, maybe a couple of others, but nobody knows more about investing in the right stocks at the right time than John Rutherford. And trust me, if your 401k dipped or if your stock portfolio is hurting, just do what John Rutherford from Florida's 5th District does, and you will be richer than Midas by the midterms. Because that guy is, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how I have an idea. But that guy is, he's the Nostradamus of stock, Nostradamus of stock. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But look, this should not come as a surprise to anybody. It's shocking to me how shocked people are that Donald Trump instituted these tariffs. It's shocking to me how shocked people are that Donald Trump does anything he does. Donald Trump is one of the most transparent politicians. Everything Donald Trump said he was going to do when he ran for office, he's doing now that he's in office. And people are all like, oh my God, I can't believe he's doing that. Really? You can't believe that Donald Trump brought in Elon Musk to doge the entire government? You can't believe that Donald Trump is shutting down the Department of Education? If you were paying even a modicum of attention, and a modicum's a really small, like a little tiny bit. If you were paying even a modicum of attention, then you would know that Donald Trump promised on the campaign trail to bring in Elon Musk to cut out all the waste and fraud and abuse in government. In fact, he campaigned with him. He brought him on stage. Elon Musk jumped up and down with a hat and said, I've gone Doc MAGA. He did the whole thing. We even saw his belly for that one time. Remember when he jumped up too high and his belly got exposed? It was all over the cam. And he said, we're going to doge. We're going to cut it. There's too much waste, fraud, and abuse. And Vivek was on board back then, but then he ditched because he had to go run for governor in Ohio. All these things were promised. Donald Trump's been promising to get rid of the Department of Education for years, ever since he announced he was running for president again back in 2023. That's how long this has been on the table. And the tariffs, not only did Donald Trump promise to do tariffs, Donald Trump's been talking about tariffs. Tariffs are great. Tariffs are beautiful. We used to have so many tariffs that we had so much money, we didn't know what to do with it. Not only that, but Donald Trump instituted tariffs his first time around as president, and they worked really well. And so now he's like, great, what worked really well the first time? Tariffs? Fantastic. Let's bring those back. What didn't work so well the first time? Jeff Sessions as Attorney General? Really anybody that Donald Trump had as Attorney General? Bill Barr? All right, let's not do that again. Let's bring Mike Pence. Yeah, we're going to move on from Mike Pence, but the tariffs we're bringing into the second administration. In fact, we're going to double down because they were so great. And on Fox and Friends this morning, it was what's his name? Said, Trump, you should not be shocked at all that this is happening. And if you are, it's your own fault.
President Trump ran on tariffs. What we just saw was a president who did what he said he was going to do. Every single day, the media said Trump is running on tariffs, and people said, we know that. Trump is running on bringing back manufacturing. People said, we know that. And they went and pulled the lever for him. This is mind-boggling to me that the media is focused on pain. You know, listen to me. I heard someone earlier today on another network say that countries send us wine, cheese, and Mercedes, and we give them a piece of paper, as if like we're getting the better end of the bargain. People sweat. They work hard. They sacrifice families. Families are broken up. People commit crimes for this piece of paper. It represents an investment, our life, our energy. It represents a lot. So we send it over there. We get all this plastic crap on this table. You know how that money comes back to this country? They buy this building. They buy our farms. Mm-hmm. This system is unsustainable. It's unsustainable. We have to figure it out. So if the American people can make a short-term, hey, that beach ball costs 50 cents more, I won't buy it. This is what's really amazing to me. And unfortunately, I hear it on all our network and that lot of networks that somehow we all want a good GDP. We all want a good economy. But does it have to come at the expense? Is it patriotic to always stay in debt? Is it patriotic to spend my entire paycheck so that the economy is good? Is it patriotic so my kids can't afford to go to college? I don't have a retirement. I don't have a decent home. Is that patriotic? Is our patriotism tied to Wall Street? Or should it be tied to our own personal ability to achieve the American dream? We need to rethink all of this.
Yeah, we need to, and he's right. Charles Payne, by the way, he's right about that. And the reason that Charles Payne is right, the reason that Donald Trump is right, it's twofold. First of all, Jim Cramer is so not happy about these tariffs. And there's one thing we've always learned is that if Jim Cramer is not happy about tariffs, then probably they're a good thing. If Jim Cramer is mad about tariffs, I say pile even more on.
Over and over again, the president said, listen, it's going to be reciprocal. So you do it, we do it. And that was going to be so good. And I really believed in it. And I feel like a sucker tonight because I am not a free trader and I do not believe in free trade. And I was just as tough, if not tougher than his people, but they screwed it up and they did it a totally ill-advised way. And I was very let down as someone who really truly believes that free trade is awful for the American working person. This is what they came up with. Jeez, come on, have some gumption, have some math.
What? I don't even know what he's mad about. He's mad that they came up with tariffs that are working. Mika Brzezinski. Oh my God, Mika Brzezinski, you'd have thought it was the end of the world. I haven't seen her this upset since she had to talk to Joe Biden about that woman that accused him of improper sexual advances that they buried. Do you remember? What was her name? Katie Holmes?
Can you walk us through the numbers? And is there any positive take on this?
Well, I can answer the second question first. I don't think there's a single positive take on this. This is all just bad. It's bad, as we talked about before, for inflation. It's bad for economic growth. It's bad for everything. But let me put this a little bit in perspective. We talked about the stock market today and how bad a day it's going to have. This chart predates that, and it goes back really to the election. And I want to just show you, because Trump's got a bunch, as we also talked briefly about before, of other economic and challenges he's facing. And so the stock market, which is this red line, our stock market, we start out here. And he was doing pretty well after the election. There was this burst of Trump euphoria, as we saw in 2016 as well. But since Inauguration Day, it has basically been straight down for our stock market. And that is a combination of anticipation of these tariffs, but also just all the chaos and commotion down there, the cutting, the Doge, all this stuff and the uncertainty has really scared the market. And that's actually in stark contrast. China, which has had a terrible run in its stock market, has actually done exceptionally well. And even Europe, which is certainly nothing to brag about on the economic front, has way outperformed us. So Trump had a set of challenges already, as represented by the stock market before. And
okay, by the way, this is, I have to point something out. First of all, it's Tara Reid. No, I said Katie Holmes. It was Tara Reid. I got the wrong actress. I got the wrong 1990s actress name. But listen, I want you to look at this chart real quick, okay? Because look at what this guy's claiming. Look at what this guy's claiming. He said
all the chaos and commotion.
Pause. Thank you. He said, look, Donald Trump was doing okay. He was doing okay. Then Inauguration Day rolled along, and as soon as Inauguration Day hit, Doge started happening. He took control of the actual government, and then boom, it went down. He goes, and on the contrary, China and Europe have gone up. Well, that's going to happen. When one country goes down, the other two go up. And if you go back to where Donald Trump would look at Inauguration Day. Look how far down China is. China and the United States are always going to be opposite. They're always going to be on opposite ends of the spectrum because they're economic adversaries. That's how it works. So yes, when Donald Trump and Doge and the tariffs go into effect and the stock market goes down, China's stock market is going to go up. But the difference is, and this is where MSNBC is guilty again, of misinformation and disinformation. The difference is that what Donald Trump is doing is he's not doing one thing that's causing the stock market to go down. He's resetting the entire government and he's resetting the entire economy for massive growth. So while you see the downward trajectory, and again, it's been not even, 6 months? It's not even been, November, December, January, February, March. It's been like 3-4 months. Not even that Donald Trump has been president. And this is the resetting. The government had to be slashed. All the waste, fraud, and abuse had to go. We had to stop printing all of this money. And now what we're doing is we're bringing in tariffs. We're setting the record straight with our trading partners. And once Wall Street stops freaking out, which they always do. Donald Trump has pretty decent advisors, and he's learning from history. He didn't just come up with the idea of a tariff. As we learned yesterday, tariffs go all the way back to the beginning of the country. Alexander Hamilton instituted tariffs so that he could have a massively profitable banking system here in the United States. And then they were able to use that to go to spark the Whiskey Rebellion and all kinds of other duplicitous things. But that was then. This is now. Donald Trump and his team have looked at history. They've looked at economics. They've put it all together, and they've created this policy of reciprocal tariffs, reciprocity. And what's going to happen is, yes, you're going to have a market reaction. But as Harrison Fields, who's a Trump advisor, tells you, that's because the status quo always spooks stocks.
Listen, the market would prefer the status quo, but the status quo has not worked for the American people for decades. President Trump had a choice. Do I stand with America or do I stand with the world? And they're taking advantage of the United States worker. He obviously made a choice. It was an easy choice for him. It's something he's been supporting for over 3 decades. He decided to stand with the United States of America and our working class, something that most presidents have ignored for decades. These things aren't easy to do. It would have been easy for President Trump to go along with the status quo. He wasn't elected to follow the status quo. He's been disrupting Washington since the day he walked down that escalator in Manhattan, and he's doing it again now. And the American people trust him on this because he did it effectively in his first term. He will do it effectively again now as president a second time.
And it all comes from knowing how to negotiate, how to work with countries. And yes, everybody's going to freak out because this is new. This is not something we've ever experienced. Not in 100+ years have we experienced this kind of terrific economic policy. But with any change, and they always say the last time the stock market dropped this quickly was during COVID. Well, guess what? That was another time when there was economic uncertainty and people weren't really sure how to react. But man, we came rip-roaring back, didn't we? And Donald Trump has planned for this. He knew it was going to happen. And now you're starting to see the rebuilding of America. It's like he said it was, what was he? He said it was like an operation because we have a sick patient. That's what he told the folks on Air Force One.
This is a patient that was very sick. We really inherited a terrible economy, as you know, with a lot of problems, including loss of manufacturing and plants closed up all over the country. You know, we've lost 90,000 plants since NAFTA, if you think of that. 90,000. It's not even believable. And about 6 million jobs. And so it was a sick patient. It went through an operation on Liberation Day. And it's going to be a booming country.
Yeah, sickness, operation, a lot of medical metaphors to get through there. But basically, that's what Donald Trump's saying. He's saying we're sick. We went into the operating room. We cut the patient open. We poked and prodded. The patient feels horrible. But then all of a sudden, they're going to come roaring back and they're going to be better than ever. And as far as the tariffs on all these countries go, because people are always focused on China, and China's got now they're upping their tariffs on us, and Canada's still yelling and screaming. But Donald Trump says, look, everybody's actually coming to the table.
And those tariffs have come in, and every country's called us.
You can't really hear that clip. It's really low, but he's saying every country has called us. Look at this. He posted this today. Just had a very productive call with To Lam, not to be confused with Toe Jam. Totally different. To Lam, General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, who told me that Vietnam wants to cut their tariffs down to 0 if they're able to make an agreement with the United States. I thanked him on behalf of our country, and I said I look forward to a meeting in the near future. Vietnam has just come forward and said, we want no tariff. And so Donald Trump said, great, let's talk about that. And the only reason Vietnam didn't just we've had tariffs on our products coming out of Vietnam for years. Ever since Vietnam became a viable alternative to China, we've had products coming into the United States of America. And these products that are coming into the United States of America are costly because of the tariffs. And this guy never called up when Joe Biden was president and said, hey, you know what? We want to bring our tariffs down to 0 because you guys are such nice guys. Nice guys finished last. To Lam saw what was happening with Donald Trump, and he goes, this guy means business. I think we need to probably need to do? We probably need to bring our tariffs down to 0 because we don't want to miss out on all of that American. Here's the thing about Vietnam. Vietnam, yes, there was that whole war. Awful war, terrible war. Some people call it a police action, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. It's in the past. And then what happened is Vietnam began to rebuild its economy. They became allied to the United States of America in a way. And they realized when China became a threat globally, when the Chinese global threat really started to pop off and this economic battle started going on between the United States and China, Vietnam was like, hey, we got a lot of people that can make stuff. We can make ball caps and uniforms and sneakers and all these things too. And we're not China. So what happened was a lot of that American manufacturing and a lot of American goods and services started to come out of China, Vietnam. And if you go into your closet and look at some of your ball caps or look at some of your sneakers or look at some of your shorts, you're going to see made in Vietnam, because they wanted to compete with China, Thailand, Indonesia, all of these places. They all said, well, wait a minute, if there's mounting antagonism between the United States and China, if people don't want products bought from China because they think that they're going to take over the world, then we will gladly make the same products and ship them out at the same cost. And now with all this tariff talk, with the tough tariff talk from President Donald Trump, they're looking like they're getting a little skittish, and they're saying, we don't want any of that mess. We'll drop our tariffs down to 0. And as China's tariffs go up, you're going to see more of these other Asian countries drop their tariffs too, because now they know they're going to get more business. Walmart, yesterday, I forget who it was. I had a clip yesterday. Was it Scott Bessent? I think it was Scott Bessent yesterday. I don't even know if I still have it. Said that Walmart, here it is.
And for someone who says that this money coming in is really a tax on consumers, what do you say?
I say a couple of things. One, we're seeing the CEO of Walmart is pushing back on his Chinese suppliers, and he is telling them they have to eat all the tariff increases. They're the largest retailer in America. I think 40 million Americans go into Walmart every week. We saw in Trump 1.0, prices didn't go up, and if we have that happening at the same time, we are able to use that income to provide President Trump's tax agenda. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, and making auto interest deductible for American cars. That's a home run for working class Americans.
Look at that. It's a home run for working class Americans, and knock it out of the park. So what's going to happen is, if Walmart is out there saying, you know what, we're not going to pay these prices, you're going to have to eat up the cost, then the Chinese manufacturers are going to either complain to their government, or they're going to lose the business. And Vietnam's going to be right there going, no tariffs over here, Walmart, come on over. What do you need? We'll make it. Indonesia is going to be like, hey, we'll drop our tariffs. What do you guys need? We'll make it. And we'll ship it out to you. And then Howard Lutnick's going to have all these people building these robots, and then we won't need any of those Asian countries. We'll have the robots build all this stuff right here in the good old US of A. How excited! I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited for the robot manufacturing. I'm going to be honest with you. I would start buying sneakers again. I mean, I guess I do buy sneakers, but I don't even know where my sneakers are made. I have to check them out. But I would start buying stuff if I knew it was manufactured by a robot, just because I think that would be kind of cool. Byron Donalds is running for governor, and so he is on TV all the time now. That's the thing. That's the thing I know is Byron Donalds. Every time I turn on my TV, you have to wait like 7 minutes. And you'll find him. He's going to be on Newsmax. He'll be on News Nation. He'll be on Fox News like every single day, because he's running for office, and that's what happens. I guess when I run for office, I'm going to have to be on TV all the time too. Although I feel like I'm everywhere all the time now. Anyway, here's what Byron Donalds had to say about Trump's tough reciprocal tariffs.
The key thing is, what are other nations going to do? Are they going to continue with their tariff policy that they've had against the United States for years, for decades, some of these countries? Or are they going to begin lowering their tariffs, and we'll lower ours in response?
We're not through the woods yet, are we? I mean, we've got to find out what their response is, and if they're going to respond in kind by either raising or lowering tariffs. I imagine that the negotiating pace is just intense, right?
I think we're just getting started here. And let's be perfectly clear, Stu. For decades, a lot of these countries have built their economies on the back of the American economy. We've given them free access to America's markets. They have been charging us massively to try to send anything to their countries. And the way I equate it as a corollary is United States basketball. Back in '92, when it was the Dream Team, it didn't matter what team you threw out there. We were going to dominate them, and it was going to really be ugly. Today's Dream Team, we still win the gold, but the games are harder. We got to compete. It's the same thing in the global economy. These nations have become not just developing nations, they are now strong economies. And so we have to have fair trade if you're going to have free trade. And so that's why the president's plan, I think, is going to work for the American people, and it's going to work for high-paying jobs for the Americans over the long term.
All right, so Donald Trump is the Michael Jordan of tariffs, according to Byron Donalds. He's the MJ. He's the original GOAT. He's the Michael Jordan of tariffs, which I guess that would make like Howard Lutnick the Scottie Pippen, and I don't know who's the Rodman. Scott Bessent. Is that who the Dennis? Who's the Dennis? Peter Navarro? I don't know who it is, but there's one thing though that they were wrong about in that conversation about negotiating, because and even what Donald Trump posted about Toe Lamb, not Toe Jam, Toe Lamb coming to the table. He said, we want zero tariffs. There's not going to be negotiations. This is not a negotiation. This is Donald Trump saying, hey, this is the way it's going to be. Whatever your tariff is, we're going to have a reciprocal tariff. And if you don't want a reciprocal tariff, you have to drop your tariffs. And Vietnam got it. Vietnam understood that completely. And they immediately got on the phone and said, we will drop our tariffs to zero. How do we make that happen? It's not a negotiation. And Peter Navarro set that record straight yesterday, too.
How negotiable are these tariffs? What does it take for countries to actually negotiate the tariffs that were just announced yesterday?
Let me make this very clear. This is not a negotiation. This is not that. This is a national emergency. And I watched a commentator today on another network who came from South Carolina, who said very clearly, well, if we're going to have somebody come here and invest in a textile plant or an auto plant or whatever, they're not going to do that if they think the tariffs are going to go away tomorrow. And the reason they can't go away tomorrow is because the bigger problem is the non-tariff barriers. You think that the European Union is going to give up their protections for farmers, their protections for the tech companies, their VAT tax tomorrow? That's impossible. So these tariffs are here to protect America. They'll raise revenues for the External Revenue Service. They'll restructure not just our economy, but our tax system.
Okay.
And Americans will benefit from every single dollar we raise. They will have more jobs. We will have more factories. And the stock market, by the way, last thing I'll say, in the Biden regime, the S&P 500 went up, but it went up because of 7 companies, and 80% of the companies in the S&P 500 stagnated. In the Trump bullish market, which is beginning now, it's going to be a lot of companies. It's going to be all the companies in the S&P who invest here, produce here, and prosper here. And it's going to be a golden age. You had the gold rush in the 1880s. This is the golden age rush.
Yeah.
So
come on down. It's the golden age rush, but there's no negotiating. This is how it works. You either drop your tariffs or the tariffs are going to remain in place. And Donald Trump will find new customers. He'll find new people that want access to our market. We're going to find new trading partners. And here's the best part too. You don't want to be last to the table. Eric Trump, was it Eric? Yeah. Eric Trump wrote this yesterday on X. I wouldn't want to be the last country that tries to negotiate a trade deal with real Donald Trump. The first to negotiate will win. The last will absolutely lose. I have seen this movie my entire life. Donald Trump holds all the cards. Donald Trump holds the keys to the kingdom. Everybody wants in. He's made the same deal to everybody. Drop your tariffs now, and we will drop our tariffs too. And some people are going to jump up and take that deal, and they're going to get the best deal. They're going to get the best deal from the bank. Or if they were on Deal or No Deal, they'll be like, I'll take that deal, Howie. And the last person, they're not going to do so. Donald Trump's going to be like, you know what? I don't need you anymore. I'm going to keep the tariffs on your country. You know why? Because everybody else already negotiated their tariffs away, and we're doing okay. Sorry, China. Sorry, Canada. You want to be first, or else you're going to be last. It's happened all of Donald Trump's life and business, and now his business is the United States of America. His business is making the United States of America as healthy and as rich and as wealthy and as powerful as any of his personal brands and businesses have ever been. He knows how to do it, and he's working by the same playbook. And I guarantee that Tam To Lam, not Toe Jam. I guarantee that To Lam from Vietnam follows Eric Trump on Twitter, saw that, or on X, saw that post and thought, I should probably call Donald Trump. I want to be first and not last. Tell you what, man, if you're concerned about this stock market volatility, listen, it's like I've been telling you, you need to make your savings bulletproof. These 401ks that you're in that are going up and down with the stock market, they're no match for a Colonial Metals Group gold and precious metals based IRA and retirement plan. You can secure your financial future with gold now. I've seen like 2 or 3 times now that the stock market has eaten away at people's 401ks because it's so volatile. You know what's not as volatile? Precious metals. That's why you need to go to freegoldguide.com/KAYE and get your free gold guide. Inside, you're going to learn how to protect and grow your retirement savings with a gold IRA, not the stock-based one that you have. Why precious metals offer a strong defense against de-dollarization and inflation. How safe and efficient retirement plans optimize your assets and savings. How to safeguard your retirement tax-free and penalty-free. How to use an IRS loophole to protect your financial future now. And of course, that up to $7,500 in free bonus silver. How great would it be to have that right about now? Wouldn't it be great to know that your future savings are secure and you've got $7,500 worth of silver in a vault? That can all happen. freegoldguide.com/KAYE is where you go. freegoldguide.com/KAYE. There was a tweet from Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, I guess it's an X. It's an X. I keep calling him tweets, but they're really X's, I guess. There was an X, a post on X from Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House. Thank you, real Donald Trump, for your leadership. Mike, you have my proxy on proxy voting. That's what Donald Trump said. Basically, Donald Trump saying no proxy voting, whatever you need to do to make sure that you protect proxy voting, that's what I want you to do. America is grateful to have a president who appreciates and understands the complexity of legislative branch issues and governing with a razor-thin majority House. Democrats tried proxy voting before, and it was terribly abused. We cannot open that Pandora's box again. So Donald Trump throws his weight behind Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, for proxy voting. A vote, by the way, which comes back to the floor, we believe, next week. And this woman from Colorado, Brittany Peterson, who had this baby and complained that she had to come and vote because she was a congressperson and she'd just given birth and she didn't want to bring her baby on a plane. And I guess she couldn't get a, I don't know her entire situation. But you know what I do know is that this woman's been hauling her baby around Washington, D.C. for the last week. It doesn't seem like it's so difficult for her to be a new mom and a congresswoman because she did like a 5-minute interview yesterday with her baby in her arms the entire time.
Brittany Peterson of Colorado. She was one of the lawmakers who introduced that bipartisan resolution on proxy voting earlier this year before giving birth to her second child, Sam, I believe, who you are holding.
Yes.
He's 9 weeks.
This is Sam.
How old is Sam?
Yeah, he's 9 weeks old. This is his third trip to D.C. So
it's beautiful. So tell us about what it is that you're fighting for here and what your message is for Speaker Johnson.
Well, we worked in a bipartisan way to bring a resolution. When I listened to Speaker Johnson talk about how it was 96% of Republicans oppose this, that's actually not the case. They didn't stand together on this because they were being threatened. It was going against a rule from the majority. But an overwhelming amount of my colleagues across the aisle also support our efforts to make sure that new parents are able to vote remotely with this narrow.
Wait a minute. An overwhelming? Is that what, did she say overwhelming?
The majority, but an overwhelming amount of my colleagues across the aisle also support.
It's 9 people. It's 9. There's 200 and, hold on, Randy Fine and Jimmy Petronis and Elise Stefanik. There's 220 now. Republicans. 9 of them is a majority? There's no way. There's no way she said that.
They didn't stand together on this because they were being threatened. It was going against a rule from the majority. But an overwhelming amount of my colleagues across the aisle also support.
Yeah, she doesn't understand what overwhelming means. 9 people is not an overwhelming amount of your colleagues. It's 9. It's another pregnant woman or another new mom, Representative Anna Paulina Luna. It's Nick LaLotta, who is from New York. And I mean, look at the, here's the dealio. Here's how this worked out. Okay. You've got Anna Paulina Luna, who's a new mom. You've got a guy in a purple district in New York who doesn't want to get attacked for voting against new moms in New York and lose his seat. You've got Tim Burchett, who I love Tim Burchett. I'm a big fan of Representative of Congressman Slingblade. I just think he's got the hots for Anna Paulina Luna. Mike Lawler from New York, Greg Steube from Florida. I'm not sure what his deal is, but he changes with the weather too. New Jersey, California, Max Miller in Ohio, and Ryan McKenzie in Pennsylvania. You've got purple district, moderate Republicans, and a woman who was pregnant like 5 minutes ago. And then of course, Tim Burchett voting against this. That is not an overwhelming majority of your colleagues. But also, if it's so difficult for you to show up in Congress with your baby, why are you hauling this baby around? This is no longer a child. This is a political prop. Sam is a cute baby, or at least he was. But the whole argument that this woman is making, the whole argument she's been making is that it's difficult for her to do her job with a newborn. And yet every time I've seen her over the past week, she's with her newborn. What would probably be better for her would be to be standing in Congress, tears in her eyes, holding up a picture of her baby, who she's absent from because, oh, this job is so ancient. The rules are so outdated. No one's saying get your baby out of here. Nobody's saying no kids allowed. She's been on the floor of the Congress. She's been in the rotunda. She's been on television. This baby, I've seen more of this baby than I have Byron Donalds. And Byron Donalds is on TV every 5 minutes because he's running for governor of the state of Florida in 2026. It's really, man, it's just wild to me. It's wild to me. I don't know. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just heartless. Maybe I'm like, here's the thing. Okay. Here's the thing. Because I've been thinking a lot about Congress, right? Because I got to run for Congress, or I'm thinking about running for Congress. But here's the thing. I know now that my kids are going to college. I know that they won't need me to drive them around anymore. I know that they're self-sufficient. I know that, we're in a good place with the show. We have the podcast set up. We have a flow going, or our social media is there. I know that everything is kind of set up there, that I'm not going to be sacrificing time away from my family. They're going to be gone anyway. My kids are like, see you, Dad. I'm going to go to college for 4 years, and maybe you'll see me on Thanksgiving or Christmas. See you guys. Enjoy your retirement or enjoy your empty nest lifestyle. Well, this is the perfect time for me to go and serve my country for a few years, try to make some positive change. And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't have children or do it at a younger age. That's great. But you have to understand the sacrifice, and I understand the sacrifice. I understand that as a congressman from Florida's 5th district, I won't be here on Monday nights for my bi-monthly poker game with the guys at the club. I get all that. When I'm here, I'll go play poker with the guys at the club, but it's not going to be every other week, every single month, because, 85 days of the year, I'll have to be in Congress pretending to work. So there are sacrifices to be made, but I understand that. You need to understand that too whenever you take a job. And this is not a job where you can do it remotely. You can't zoom in to Congress, and Donald Trump supports that. And now on Monday, we're going to see I hope to gosh golly, I hope that Mike Johnson is out there working these people. I hope that he's out there talking. And again, there is a difference, because what they voted on the first time around was a rules package. And I think there was a little bit of chicken, right? There's a little bit of here. Let me pull this chart back up for 1 second. There was a little bit of there is
Brittany Pedersen.
Okay. Is it Pedersen? I said Peterson, but it could be Pedersen. Let me pull this chart back up a bit. So there's 9 Republicans who joined all of the Democrats to block the GOP procedural vote. Now, keep in mind, when this vote happened, we had 2 seats in the House that were vacant. Florida 1 and Florida 6. Now those seats are full. Florida 1 is full. Florida 6 is full. So we've got 2 more votes, which means that if he pulls just 4 of these people away, then it doesn't matter anymore. He's going to be able to win this vote. And it wasn't a vote on proxy voting. It was a vote on the rules package. It was a procedural vote that was almost like a protest. And these 9 people were protesting against the speaker's maneuvers. They weren't protesting. They weren't voting for proxy voting. They were voting against the rules package because they didn't like the way that Mike Johnson did it. A proxy vote will be totally different if it ever comes to the floor, which I guess it will next week sometime. But I'd be curious to see if Tim Burchett is going to support Anna Paulina Luna when the actual vote on proxy voting pops up. I'd be curious to see what Greg Steube's going to do, because Greg Steube, I hear, is maybe interested in running for Senate against Ashley Moody. And if that's the case, he's going to need all the Republican support he can muster, and that includes the Speaker of the House of Representatives and President Donald Trump. And now that President Donald Trump has openly thrown his support behind Mike Johnson and against proxy voting, then I think that you're going to see some of these votes flip. Plus, we've got Randy Fine and Jimmy Patronis, and they're going to do exactly what Donald Trump tells them to do. So it's going to be a whole different ball game when it does pop up. I'm excited for it. Also, this is kind of funny too. Last thing, I just have to play this clip because it's just so great. And I hear rumors that Scott Jennings is interested in running for the Senate or running for office. And I would never say, no, don't do it, because that would make me hypocritical. But Scott Jennings is so great. We would be buds. I've never met the guy. Maybe I should try to get him on the show. We would be buds, because oftentimes I will, during a live broadcast, sip coffee and look to the camera quizzically when I'm playing a clip of something that I disagree with, or when I'm playing a clip of something that I think is just stupid or, silly or all of the above. And he does the exact same thing. In fact, he did it yesterday on CNN when, get this, the Democrats were trying to compare poll numbers with Donald Trump. This is great.
What the administration is doing, only 33% said because they like what the administration is doing. So if we want to just keep
question,
going,
who's more popular right now, Donald Trump or congressional Democrats?
Doesn't matter. Donald Trump happens to be the president, doesn't he?
It doesn't. He's sitting at
50-50.
You're sitting at 20-80.
He's at 48-50, actually, and increasingly people. You want to call the AP and tell them
you want to call CBS News?
Sure.
All right. Okay. We're not going to go to the mat over
but more importantly,
polls. We're not going to.
His numbers are going. His approval ratings are going down.
Where are yours
headed? We got to leave it there.
Okay, this woman's name, by the way, is Karen, which is just too perfect. This woman's name is Karen, and she's saying, Donald Trump, by the way, he does not need to be going after Democrats in Congress because his poll numbers are going down. He was at 50. He's now at 48. And Scott Jennings is like, lady, he's like looking at her like, lady, are you really want to talk about poll numbers? Where are the Democrats? They're at 20%. And she goes, but he's the president. Doesn't matter. One man's poll ratings are basically still within the margin of error of being 50%. And your entire party is in the toilet. And they're going down. No Democrat right now should ever be comparing the size of their poll numbers with any Republican, especially Donald Trump. You want to whip out your poll numbers and try to say yours are better. They're not. And they're not getting any better. It is really, it's shocking to me. Again, it's an entire party of people who, I guess they're just short-sighted or nearsighted or farsighted or whatever. They just don't understand what they say and what they do and the perception that the people have of them. The perception of people in the United States of America right now is that proxy voting is not the most important thing that we need to battle with. Republicans and Democrats alike are both saying the most important thing that we have to deal with is not proxy voting for pregnant women or new moms or new dads or whatever it is. That's not a battle we need to be having. So drop it. And if you think that the congressional Democrats or any Democrats are more popular than President Donald Trump, that is just okay. Keep thinking that. Keep thinking that. That is gonna serve you. That is going to serve you well for sure. Listen, I'm going to be in D.C. I think I mentioned this. I'm going to be in D.C. Next week. I'm going to D.C. on Monday night, but I'll be there Tuesday, Wednesday. And as a result, we've had to move our Dollars for Followers masterclass from Wednesday night to Thursday. Now, a lot of people, they'll write to me every now and then and be like, you know what, Mark, that actually, I can't make it Wednesday or is on another night because Wednesday's no good for me. Well, yeah, now it's going to be on Thursday next week only. So if you're one of those people that always wanted to attend Dollars for Followers and learn how to make $1 for every single follower you have on social media, if you want to learn my secrets of how I make a full-time income from my home with my phone, a computer, a camera, a microphone, whatever it is, if you want to learn this entire schedule of events, and fun fact, this is the schedule I use for the Dollars for Followers Masterclass. Anyone who's been through it, I literally go through every single thing you see on the website. So if any of that appeals to you, you're going to get all of that. We do content audits and profile glow ups, all this amazing stuff. And of course, there's a 100% money back guarantee. I should put a percent sign there. It just says 100 satisfaction. I'm going to go fix that in a minute. But register today because these things fill up. And now that it's on a new night next week only, then we move it back to Wednesdays. But now that it's on a new night next week only, I imagine that all the people who could never come on a Wednesday are going to jump at the chance to come on Thursday. The website address is dollarsforfollowers.com. Dollarsforfollowers.com. I don't know if it's in the description of this video. If not, I will put it in there. But it's a fantastic hour. It's a great opportunity for you to learn from me, from other people. Really, if you're looking to use social media marketing or anything at all online to promote your business and market your stuff and really succeed in the new golden age, then this is something that you want to take advantage of. Dollarsforfollowers.com. Go there today. Register for next Thursday at 8 p.m. Less than a week from right now. And I'm going to have some great stories from my trip to DC, which I'm very, very excited about. Listen, don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you subscribe, you like, you share. Make sure you've got those notifications set because we're always bringing you great new content from all over the place, not just DC, but the world. And anything and everything that affects you. If it affects you, it affects me. And if it affects me, I'm going to talk about it to you. I want us to be on the same page. I want us to be totally informed. I want us to be better and smarter and richer and stronger than the other side, than any one of these other countries. What Donald Trump wants for America, we want for America. We are all fighting the same battle. We're all fighting the same enemies, and we've all got to stick together. And that's why I come here every single day. And that's why I'm glad you guys are here as well. And I want to make sure you keep coming back. So subscribe so that you can stay informed, enlightened, engaged, entertained, invigorated, and most importantly, so you can stay sharp, because we are always continuing to fight so that we can save the republic. Dollarsforfollowers.com, DOLLARSFORFOLLOWERS.com. Dollarsforfollowers.com. Register now. We'll send you all the information you need for next Thursday. Next Thursday at 8 p.m., we will get you going. But don't wait, because like I said, these things fill up. And if you want a content audit, or if you want me to go over your profile or glow up any of your content, you want to be at the top of the list, not the bottom. Trust me, because we always run out of time. Dollarsforfollowers.com.